ज्ञानदेव तुमने स्टार्ट किया?
एक मिनट में कंफर्म कर। हाँ, स्टार्टेड।
Hello everyone. Yeah, hi, I'm Shivam. So yeah, I'm the founder and CEO of Apli.Ai. So I'm just trying to present today like the resume building session, how you can like build your own resume at Apli.Ai. So this is the whole session all about. Yeah. By the way, hope you guys are doing well. So let's start with that. I'll just upload my PPT. Oh, so by the way, till time like I guess you all have enjoyed all the sessions we are doing these days. We are also coming up with a lot of initiatives these days, like in entrepreneurship, higher education. So please keep attending. I'll just try to figure out the way. Yeah. Cool. So starting with the session, like yeah. So coming up, so how to build a resume. So you had a last session from Miss Urvashi Chawla, which was focused on like how to build a better resume, like what should be the format, and like there was a lot of stuff focused on like how should be your format, what should be the font size, how how should you build the complete template. So we saw like instead of focusing like students, it's very difficult for them to focus on the template. So why don't we build the whole template? Like why don't we automate it? So what we saw that a lot of students, they go to like some kind of professionals to build their resume, and then they end up spending a lot of money. And it was like so we sitting at IT Bombay, we saw like, okay, so spending a lot in these kind of resumes doesn't make sense to us. So we thought, why don't we automate the complete process? So that's what like we came up with the idea, like building a automated resume template. So where you just go there, we just ask you the right questions, you answer it, and then you just submit it and you get a one page better format resume, which is like one of the best resumes. It's like ATS tracker proof. You can use it anywhere, you can download it. It's not only on the platform. Like a lot of resumes, you say like you build LinkedIn profile, so you only use it on LinkedIn, you can't use it at different places. But here at Apply, like we focus on that, okay, you come in, you build a resume, and you can use it anywhere, like maybe inside the platform or maybe outside the platform. And you can just download it or share it in the form of PDF format, which is like most acceptable for with a lot of HRs. So we don't call this as a resume. We called it as a, wait a minute, I guess. Yeah. So we don't call it as a resume. We call it as Apply profile, because resume these days, like see, resume can't tell you like how good you are, right? So it's called more kind of a profile. So what is a profile? It's basically complete you, like your resume, the way you speak, the way you can impress the HR, like it's called as a video introduction. So where you get 60 seconds to present yourself, and then comes like a personality test. So where you just, so we just check your basic IQ and how good you are, like how good in managing stuff and other stuff. Cool. So I'll just proceed ahead. Yeah. So introduction about me. So yeah, by the way, I'm an engineer, mechanical, but had more interest into computer science. So we started building this. I wanted to make impact in a lot of students' lives. So what we saw, like I belong to both the stratas, like a normal college as well as at IIT Bombay. So I saw like there were a lot of companies coming to IITs and all, but in other colleges, still there's a huge problem of getting good companies. There are talents, but it's very less in number, like maybe 2 to 3%. So like just 2 to 3% the company can't travel to each and every college. So that was a very difficult part for us, like taking out companies to each and every college. Because for assume, like let's take an example. So if Google wants to recruit, so they saw like, okay, so they wanted to recruit, but they only have like 365 days in a, sorry, 365 days in a year. So they can't always come there, and they can't do all this stuff, right? So they can't come there and they can't visit all the colleges, because at the end they can only visit like 365 colleges in a year. So it becomes very difficult to go to each and every college. So that's where we always thought of like how we can help students to reach out to the companies directly. So that's what like Apply is all about. So it's a simple platform which is bridging the gap between student, college, and companies. So where we reduce the work of college by 70%, so that they can get more companies onboarded. So your college also brings more companies, plus we also bring more companies. So you get like a lot of opportunities from across India. And we are also like targeting few companies across Singapore and for development and all. So there are few part-time roles as well. So we did a drive with IT Bombay, so where we achieved like very good placements. So one guy got around 18 to 20 lakhs plus 2% of equity, which is like one of the very good packages. Yeah. So moving ahead, resume building. So yeah, like last time Urvashi mentioned that like you have to give around 30 to 45 minutes at least for building a good resume and understanding the concept and accepting that making a good resume is a time consuming task. Okay, so Urvashi mentioned that okay, resume building is a very time consuming task. You have to give like 30 to 45 minutes at least. And I'm like, dude, it's not necessary, right? So the like when you build resume at Apli, like you don't have to give 30 to 45 minutes. For example, today, like a candidate from Atharva College known as Shweta Jagtap, she built a resume, I guess, in 15 minutes. She had an interview. She was just about to land in. I told her like, okay, just take this app and just do it, and you can submit a resume. And she built it in 15 minutes. And I'll show you her resume only. Don't worry about it. We'll also do a practical session on it. So coming ahead, yeah, so we have got you covered. So what we do exactly? So we have the right format. So don't worry about the format, font size, and will my resume pass to the ATS tracker and all those stuff. So those things we have covered. Just you just have to worry about more about like what kind of internships you have done, what is your actually exposure, and then like please don't make any grammatical mistakes for now. So yeah, like later on we are trying to add more stuff like grammarly and all, so where you won't make any grammar mistakes. But currently we haven't added it, so please don't make any grammar mistakes, because it actually puts a very bad impression in front of recruiters. So that's the most essential part. So focus on like what you have done actually in the internship, and don't worry about the format at Apple. So coming ahead, yeah, like resume building in Appli. So this is like you can just log in into your app and then you can go to the profile section. So where you'll find this kind of layout. So where there would be like a button known as click here to start building a resume. You just have to click there and then you can see many options. So I'll just take you through like all the options on the website, because on my laptop I can't use like the app. So coming forward, like yeah, this is the kind of template you will get it. So in 15 minutes, trust me, your resume will be ready. Okay, now let's do a practical resume building session. So I'll take you through like a complete how to build a resume on the website. So I'll also take you. So as I mentioned, right, Shweta Jagtap in the morning, she made a resume in 15 minutes. So that's crazy, right? I can understand that. So as Urvashi mentioned that okay, you have to devote around 30 to 45 minutes, but not compulsory. Like, see, resume building is not a one-time process. It's a recurring process. So you have to always focus on like getting more achievements, putting in your resume, doing more internships, doing more projects, uh, all those stuff, like doing more courses or winning more like awards and achievements. And then you just keep on noting there or doing some volunteering stuff. So I'll give you an example. So like when you so if you want to like get into the best B school, so assume if you're a graduate or if you're someone else, right? So if you really want to get into the best B schools or somewhere else like for masters, so they always talk about profile. So what is exactly a profile? So profile means like what you have done exactly in life. So it's not only about your educational background or where you come from. Oh, you come from IT Bombay, so you'll directly get a seat in Harvard. That's not compulsory. So you have to go through like a profile journey. So where like it's a basic method, it's defined that okay, like in 2 to 3 years you have to work in a consulting firm, and then like in next 1 year maybe you can do some social startup, and then you can get into like Harvard or any big B schools. So yeah, this is like a bit of well defined path a lot of people are following these days. So that's what like that's called a basic profile. So people nowadays are aware about it. You just need the right mentors to guide you throughout. So we that's what like so we at Appli, so we're trying to bring the best mentors from like different places like Apple, Google, Microsoft for coding, and like for other like if you want to get into consulting. So we're trying to bring people from BCG, McKinsey, and then PwC and all the best companies. and like yeah, any other profile you want to apply for. So what happens if these mentors come on board? So your life becomes very easy. So basically assume if any of your relatives is there sitting in on one of your dream companies, so you can just directly contact them, right? And you can ask them like, "Acha bhaiya, आपने कैसे किया? आपने का interview कैसे crack किया? What were the questions?" So that's what we are trying to do with you, right? So if assume if you don't have any bhaiya or relative or bro is sitting in the best companies, so then it means you can't crack the best companies. It should not be true, right? If you're a very good talented candidate, you should get all the best exposures. So that's what we believe in. So that's what like yeah, we're bringing like one of the best mentors who can give you best advice, and then you can succeed in your career. So they also started like 2 to 3 years ago, and now they are sitting in the best companies. So they'll give you like the fresh exposure. It's not like we are bringing some directors or who have given interviews like 10 years ago. So whatever he'll say actually would be a flaw, because these days like all interviews they keep changing like year by year. So these people, like they are recent graduates, they went into those companies, they cracked the jobs at this moment itself. So they can give you like better exposure. So let's not waste time and let's move to the practical resume building session. Okay. So I'll just go back to my Zoom. So here, like I am on the website where we have this resume. I'm not sure it's like yeah. Oh, yeah. So I'll just share my screen again. So yeah, like how you can get access to the website, it's just like you just type Apli.ai and then just click on submit or enter, and then you get onto the login page, and then you can just put your credentials, whatever you use on the app, and then you can go on the profile section. There you'll find like three headers like resume, video intro, and psychometric test. Okay, so here the resume. So yeah, when you come to the resume, you just have to click on edit button, and then you'll see a bit of magic where you'll see like everything gets divided into sections, whatever you have experienced till now in life. So it's like your basic information, like your name, middle name, father's name, email ID. So don't worry about these things. We just ask you the right information which we want to like display in the resume. We don't like ask any of the random informations. Okay, so here you just fill your basic informations like your photo, and then your first name, middle name, like your email, mobile number, your birth date, like gender, like male, female, and then basic address. So these are like basic things. Okay, you have to just fill in here, and then we move to education. Okay, so yeah, I'm just moving to education. So where uh, yeah, so coming to education, like your education would be uploaded before itself, because you just like you signed up into the right batch. Don't worry if your batch is wrong, please mail us on info@apli.ai, or else just reach out to me or any of the team members at apli.ai. They'll help you to change your batch. So that we are doing in like next week. So still like yeah, you can build your resume, you can apply to companies, that's not a problem. So companies actually don't look on your education. So for example, I am a mechanical engineer, right? But I'm not working anything in mechanical. I do like weird stuff. Like I majorly do recruit a lot of people around. So you can call me an HR. I do a lot of operations. I'm also a product guy. So I keep on changing. Like okay, how would be my user journey? Like when a user comes into your account, what he will click first, what he will click next. So all those things. So you're like yeah. So companies they don't look more on your education. So they prefer like okay a guy who's open to learn anything. So when you talk about freshers, company are looking for people who are quite coachable, because trust me, like college won't teach you anything which is required in the company. So when you actually land into a job, so you have to like be there with new skill sets. Okay. So if you have any doubts, you can keep on like using the app and message there. I'll just review it later on and I'll keep on answering as soon as I see any questions. Cool. So coming up on the point here, we have like a academic qualification, current academics, like whatever your course would be displayed here, and then there would be like course. So here it's very simple, like these are semesters and then there are like scores. So you just have to fill in your like normal scores, like kind of a CGPA if you're in engineering college, and if you're in graduation college there would be something else. So if it's percentage, your college would have been chosen percentage, so don't worry about it, we have taken care about it. So you just have to like fill the right details. So assume if you have done like with your first sem, if you're in second year, so you have done with your like three sems or two sems. So just keep on like updating, like okay, first sem I got 7 pointer, in second sem I got 7.48, third sem I got 7.08, and then number of backlogs. So number of backlogs, like there are two sections, like number of closed backlogs and live backlogs. So closed backlogs is very simple, like whatever you have actually cleared. So we also call it as backlog as KT in Mumbai University. So don't get confused, like backlog is only KT, right? So just update, like okay, you have like closed five backlogs. For example, if I am in my first sem and I'm entering in my second sem, okay, so I have like four KTs, and in second sem I've closed like all four. So I'll write here, like in first sem I'll write here like close backlog zero, live backlog would be four KTs, and then I move here like close backlogs, I've cleared all my four KTs. So I'll write four closed, zero live. Okay, so moving ahead, and then yeah, you can upload your certificates of like your results, because it would help a lot for your college to verify it, because nowadays companies are looking for resumes which are verified. So if you don't upload your certificate, actually you'll lose an option of like getting into the best companies. Because when you talk about the top companies like KPMG and other big fours, or any other like Google and all, so they only look for verified resumes. So when you go to like the top colleges like IITs and all, wait a minute, okay, yeah, so when you exactly go to into an IIT or any premier college, so they have a process known as resume vetting. So resume writing is a simple process. So where like your placement team, they go through like all the details you have mentioned in the resume, and then they like keep on check. Like there are few checkpoints. So assume like you've done certain internships or your CGPA. So they'll go through it, like they'll check your CGPA. If it's true, they'll mark like yeah, verified, and then they'll move to your internships or your projects, whatever I've mentioned in the resume. So then yeah, so whatever I've mentioned in your resume, so they're like they just go through your points, like so your resume points also matters a lot. So in resume vetting, they actually verify all your points. That assume you have done an internship in KPMG. So there will be like certain points, like what was the internship about, so you'll write 3 points. So this training and placement officers, or like you can call it as your placecom guys, okay, placement coordinators, they'll verify all your resumes, and there like the certificate would be displayed to them, that okay, he has done, genuinely he has done an internship, and this is the certificate, and this that's the reason, like you can validate it, like their resume points. Or else how it works in other premier colleges is, it's like they have to mail the main guy, like they have to mail the company that okay, I've done this internship, and then you have to get a verified signal from them. So once they mail you like back that okay, these points are verified, then only you can put in the resume. But if you upload your certificate, so then it like yeah, so it makes a lot more easy to verify your process. So please keep on uploading your certificates, which will help your verification process by your college. Okay, I'll move ahead. If you don't upload it, that's not a problem. Okay, so whatever you have, just keep on putting there, so that you can also use it later on as well. Cool, I'll just move ahead. Yeah, so 12 standard, like yeah, just mention your 12 standard details, like whatever college you were from, maybe like I was from Sate College in Mumbai. So you can just mention like Sate or Kendra Vidyalaya, like which stream were you from, like uh, science, commerce, or arts, or else like yeah, what were the board? So maybe Maharashtra board, or maybe CBSC, or Uttar Pradesh board. Any like just mention it there. And then like yeah, your CGPA. The most important part is like just choose this. So if you are from CBSE, mostly you get CG. I don't know, like maybe you get in pointers, right? So you just click on and choose slash by 10 or slash by 4, whatever your college was about. Or maybe if it's percentage, just choose percentage, so it will display in your resume, so it's completely automated. And then you just have to mention the month, like when did you start 12th and when did you end it. Don't worry about it. So just try to mention the right years. Month is not as compulsory as possible. So if you say like, hey, I graduated in March, someone said, hey, I graduated in February, it's fine. Just try to mention the right academic year, because that's the most important thing. And then yeah, like upload your passing certificate, like when you passed your 12th standard, which will help us to verify your details. And then yeah, like 10 standard, so it's the basic details, right? I do hope you can do it by yourself. So moving ahead, so yeah, there is an experience section. Whew. So coming to experience, so I feel there are only two kind of experience. First one is internships, which we do like, or maybe life projects, and then second one is jobs. So whatever you have, please try to mention it there itself. So when you go on internship, like you just choose like whatever you have done. So if you have done internship, from this option, choose like internship or job, and then like choose name your company, like which company were you working in. So keep a note here, please. Whatever I'm trying to explain you, just keep on noting on a piece of paper or in your diary or something. And then later on, when you move on to the resume section, please try to inculcate those whatever you have learned through the session, because this will actually help you to build a better resume. And then we have done like we work day and night to help you a lot, but at the end it's you who will decide your first impression. So we have given like this kind of format to the best guys, and also the guy who have done nothing, right? So at the end, company will only choose the best candidates. So we are not like we don't give you jobs. Okay, we are just a platform which helps you to get jobs. So you can call it as kind of a catalyst. So where we just increase your like rate of getting jobs, internships, or any other opportunity. So that's what we are here for. So please listen here carefully, because this is the most important thing. So whenever you go on experience section, like yeah, just choose job, internship, and then mention your company name, like when did you do the internship, like from, and starting and last date. And then like mention your designation. So for example, don't mention it as intern, right? So if you did in computers, so mention it as like software developer intern, or check your certificate. You can like there would be something mentioned. So for example, when we give a certificate, we properly mention like what was the designation you were working on. And if it's not mentioned, please get back to the company and ask like, hey, what I was exactly working on. Because if you don't know your designation, so it would be really difficult. So yeah, intern, there are n number of interns. What were you exactly working on? Like what kind of domain? For example, social media marketing intern, program manager, marketing manager, uh, something else like operations, business development, university relations, corporate relations, anything, depending on the type of company. So that's what. And then yeah, like we have given you pre-built options where you can choose what kind of industry you're working on, and then you can choose like domain. So currently we have opted only for 4 domains, but we will add more as we come across more companies around. Okay, and this data is actually showed to your college, which helps them to get a better clarity, like okay, what kind of companies they should bring in the campus. Cool. So responsibilities, yeah. So that's the most important thing. A lot of people, like I saw, were not able to fill their resumes because they don't know what to put in the responsibilities. So I'll just answer this question. So yeah, there are 3 bullet points. So first thing, just read it here. Like only 80 to 110 characters are allowed for each bullet point. So it has a different meaning. They are trying to tell you that okay, so your the the alphabet should be around 80 characters, not less than that. So it means like at least 18 characters, and at most it can be like you can add anything, maybe like 110, or so at most 110 and at least 80. So please keep in mind. And then whenever like you are adding your this thing also, though it will show, like for example, I'm just reducing the number of alphabets, so it will show you like character count. And if it's less than 80, so for example, I'll just copy paste it. Okay, so to be on a safer side, I don't want to spoil anyone's resume. Control X. Yeah. So it will show in red. So as soon as you cross 80 characters, it will show in green. which is like a positive signal to go ahead. Cool. So yeah, you just have to like mention what exactly you do, like you've done in the internship. So like most important part, please note here. Also, if you can make a note, please do it. I'll just improve the spelling. Internet. Okay. So like if when you're writing these responsibilities, please try to write it in a proper way. Okay. Don't elaborate much. Only put like specific informations which you think is most required to which you want to convey to the NHR. So instead of like going to like go in an interview and explaining him like what exactly you did in the internship, so this helps you to make your first impression. So your first impression should be like really good. So try like try to mention numbers. So for example, I'll give you an example. Like if you're doing like social media marketing, so try to mention like when you started, like what was the numbers of followers, and when you ended the internship, what was the impact. So for example, if you've done a social media marketing internship, the best point would be like, hey, after the internship, like I have increased the followers from 500 to 8,000. So these numbers matter a lot, because people like, okay, so they understand your words, but when you show like metrics, so these numbers are actually metrics. So people get driven on metrics like these HRs. So for example, when you come to me, like if you say, hey, I have done a social media marketing internship, like, and I've drawn this page from 0 to 1,000 followers or 0 to 8,000 followers, then I would love to take you in. But if you say like, hey, I've done this social media marketing internship, and then there I just, yeah, and you just try to be verbose, like you just say, hey, I just tried to do some post or make some Photoshop images. So see, the point is like all the social media marketing interns would do the same thing, right? Why should I prefer you? That's what. So here this matrix would be a key differentiator. So for example, like when you see IT Bombay student resumes, they'll also mention like, hey, I was a coordinator in Mood Indigo Tech Fest or whatever. And then they'll mention like the students coming there for the Tech Fest. So they'll mention like we have a footfall of around 1.5 lakhs or 1.5 million. So which which makes sense, right? So these are the metrics. So the more numbers you put in, like the more results you show, the higher chances of getting selected in the company. So that's what, like for example, like I've selected many candidates, so where I really like their resumes and I've said done, yeah, you're in. So we didn't go for second round or third round, because they've mentioned everything clearly. So it helps you to get the second meeting, or for example second interview, I'm sorry, it's not meeting, second interview, or else you'll directly get selected. That's why like we always ask for resumes. Cool. So moving ahead, so yeah, that's what, like keep in mind, use numbers, use results, whatever you have done before, like if you have done any project. So for example, if you have made some bot, so explain like how many users have used the bot. Okay, what, how many users you have touched. So for example, when you talk about Apli, like, so I'll mention that, hey, I've made a platform like where we have touched around 70 colleges plus more than 10,000 students. So that makes impact, right? So these numbers actually make impact. Coming ahead, yeah, you can add multiples. So it's very easy. You just have to click here, add experience, and then if you don't like it, just delete it. If you don't know, like if you've never done an internship or job, it's completely fine. You can just go ahead, you can delete, like just do one thing, just delete everything. Like, so just delete this thing and then it's fine. Like there won't be any header in your resume. That's the best part. So I saw a lot of resumes, they help you to with the best template, but they leave, so if you don't mention your experience, so they leave a header that okay, experience is blank, which shows a negative impact on the HR. So for example, we just recruiting from IM Raipur. So I saw like some resumes was, I saw some negative page in the resume, and I just rejected those candidates, because I feel like if there is something negative, so like see, we all are humans, right? So HRs are also humans, and they keep on reviewing a lot of resumes. So for example, I go through like around 150 resumes per day. So I know like okay, I'll just spend around 10 to 15 seconds on these resumes. So that's what. Cool. Moving ahead, talking about projects. So a lot of people have questions that okay, what they can put in their projects. So project, it's not necessary you should do into a company. So you can do by yourself itself. You like if you do a project by yourself. So for assume, like let's assume that you were doing any course on Coursera, and there was some project you have done, so you can mention the project. So for example, the reason we have like use this kind of layout is because the companies, they don't get better clarity like when you say like, hey, I have done like some course from Andrew Ng, or I have done some course from Samir Mathur, who's a professor at IIM Lucknow. Because they're like, see, doing a course and implementing it, it's like very different thing. And companies don't look for uh, like whoever is just attending the course, they look for doers who have done something in life. Something in life in the sense like use that your education and you have done something. Like for example, you did some course by Samir Mathur and you have performed some projects. So company would love to take you in instead of like you have the guy candidate who have done that project or sorry, attended that course. So please focus on doing more projects. uh, okay, sorry, I'm just checking out. I'm just keeping a track on that. Okay, is there any more questions so that I can answer, or I can like just keep updated here. Cool. I'll just move ahead. So yeah, these are projects, and then moving ahead, it's like, whew. So yeah, here we have only mentioned two bullet points because that's more than essential. Try to mention more about the like a detailed overview about your project. So for example, you have done any project as a operations executive or with your any of your professors. So which would actually put more better impression in your resume instead of doing a course. So please perform more projects instead of doing more courses. So moving ahead, so yeah. So there are like extracurricular activities. So yeah, a lot of students were confused. I'll just take you back again to the. I'll just grab some water. So guys, yeah, coming back. So practical resume building session. Yeah. So here, I'll just show you a few examples how it works. So extracurricular and skills. So basically here, mentioning the position of responsibilities. So this is the layout. So for example, like you just mentioned that, hey, I was the editorial board member, or I was like the vice president of ECell, or I was like for any other committee. So there you have to mention some key points. Like try to use numbers because that actually catches. So HRs are more attracted towards numbers because numbers shows results, and people like everyone wants to hire result driven candidates who can actually give output to the amount they are paying or to the stipend they are paying to you. So for example, here like we have used part of 20-member team heading IT Bombay official student media body and 200 students journalist. So this guy is trying to tell that okay, he is a kind of a leader where 200 students were like working under him. So this kind of things, so try to use it this way. So here, yeah, like what you can mention in extracurricular, so there can be position of responsibilities, there can be like any social initiative you have done, or any like anything else, like you have started a startup that can be come into your jobs. Like in PORs, like in extracurricular, you can mention something else, like for example, if you're working in an NGO, so that's a cool thing actually. Yeah, so you should do social projects as well. So you can mention like, hey, I was whatever you were working on. So for example, you were a volunteer, so mention like, hey, volunteer slash uh jage raho NGO. And then you mention 2 points, like two key points, that okay, what you exactly did in the NGO. Because a lot of people, they work in NGOs or they get like certificates from anywhere. I hope you understand it. Like it's kind of fuzzy certificates, which companies don't like it. So try to mention your work, whatever you have done in the or NGO or somewhere else. For example, if you're a part of any organization which is not in your college, it's fine. So, for example, like you were a part of some youth-driven organizations, for example, ISAC or maybe Hull Prize, anything, just mention it here. Or maybe Facebook developers group, or maybe Google developers group, or something else. Keep mentioning here, which will actually add more uh, credibility to your resume, because the more credibility, the acceptance chances of your in the job gets increased. So moving ahead, like yeah, skills. Try to mention. I'll just show you once. Yeah. So I do hope you're clear with the award. Sorry, extracurricular. If you have any doubts, you can come back to me. Coming back to awards. So you can add any achievement like whatever you have got. So for example, yeah, the bullet point would appear accordingly. You don't have to put like a bullet point and then write. So it will be, it's an automated system. Just write whatever you want. So for example, you have done any you have won something. So for example, like you have won black belt. So for like you can just write like, hey, I am a black belt in karate Osho International or something else. So for example, you have won any competitions. So you can say like, hey, I've won anything, like any competition, any awards, any achievements. Don't mention certifications because companies are not more aligned towards it. Try to mention your achievements because companies, when you talk about your achievements, they're driven by it. Like they know, okay, this is the pure hard worker. So if he comes to my company, he'll keep working hard and he'll win more awards in the company. So that's what, like, don't try to mention that, hey, I've done a course in ML or I've done a course in AI. That's what I'm seeing in a lot of resumes these days. So don't mention your certifications because if you want to show anything based on your certifications, try to do any kind of projects. So when you do a certification, try to focus any projects, like search online or get attached with any NGO or any other organizations and do a project and mention it into a project instead of like mentioning it here as a certification. But yeah, if you really want to mention it, it's your wish. But I would just suggest don't mention any certifications here. For example, if I see it, I'll directly reject it. So being straightforward. I'll just move to the last section, which is skill building. So here, yeah, like we have put two sections. Here it's one called as skill group. So where you just have to pick the right skill group. Like for example, if you are like if you're a programmer, so a programmer can have multiple skills, right? So like this format is just built so that like your this tags can catch the eye of the recruiters. So for example, if you're doing like skill group, so mention like programming and then go ahead and mention all like yeah, Python, and then your basic expert and what. Please also choose this because it will also help the recruiter to decide if he wants to take you in. For example, if you're applying at Apli.Ai, so we prefer people who have done Python because we use Django as backend. So if you're a base like starter in Python, I won't prefer you. So that's the thing. I don't care like you've done C, C++, whatever. So if I'm looking for you for machine learning role, so I don't like anyone like who has done a basic of machine learning. So basic means he has just like learned the concept and you have not implemented it. So once you implement it, you yourself will feel that okay, now I'm a pro, and you'll like mark yourself as a expert. So yeah, just go ahead and do it, and then you can just add more skill groups here. So for example, like you are a management candidate, so you can write management skills, then you can mention like, hey, leadership or something else, which will add more credibility to your resume. Cool. So I'm just deleting it here because it's someone else's resume. I've just taken its permission. And then you just click on submit, save. So when you click on save, like it keeps on updating your resume. Yeah. So now let's hold for a second. Yeah. So your profile is updated. You can go back on the profile section, or there would be any back button. I'm not sure about it. So yeah, here like you get this resume. You can actually go through it properly by using this kind of layouts if you want to see properly. So yeah, here like this person Shweta Jagtap, this is his resume. Sorry, her resume. And then so I'll give you few feedbacks. So here try to reduce your college name. It's fine. So if you were from Kendra Vidyalaya, INS Hamla, just remove INS Hamla. Just keep Kendra Vidyalaya because is actually not looking for your 12th, like any kind of grades or so. Like not all resumes look for it. So please don't mention like long names or else any board. So if you're from Maharashtra board, so don't mention like Maharashtra State Board of Technical Education. Keep it short, like mention it as Maharashtra board, so that it doesn't goes in your second line, because it will put like it will actually utilize some space from your resume. Yeah, if you don't have anything to mention in your professional experience or academic or something else, then yeah, it's better if you like write huge names, because that will take a huge space in your resume and there won't be any negative space. Moving ahead, so yeah, you can mention your academic projects. So yeah, as I mentioned, two liners, more than 80 words. So here, like yeah, Shweta, a feedback for you is basically this. Like you've mentioned this thing, like yeah, you've worked in RoboSync, but you have not actually. I'm not getting any kind of sense, like okay, what you have actually done there. So for example, you have mentioned working on IoT based projects, and then full stop. So guys, just a suggestion: don't put full stop before the sentence ends. So if there is one bullet point, keep only one full stop. Okay, so it doesn't look good. Moving ahead, yeah, your projects, so try to do as many projects as possible and then mention it here. Extracurricular, try to be a part of like NGO, social enterprise, work in a like some like college committee. These are the best places to gain build better profile. And then yeah, like try to mention your skills properly because it will display here like basic, expert, what were you. So, and by the way, like don't try to mention any false data because this data would be back then also verified by the company. So for example, like if you're like just a starter in Python and if you put yourself as an expert, and if the company gets to know about it, because like looking at your projects, anyone can judge it, right? If it's a he's a HR, he have recruited, like you have recruited for a last 1 year or 3 months, anything. So you'll get a sense that okay, you're trying to it's a false data. So he would just reject a resume and you won't get any internships or jobs. So please keep your data as genuine as possible. So moving ahead about the resume templates and all. So yeah, I'll just share my PPT back again. We'll just move there. Yeah, I guess now it's visible. So coming to like some of the templates. So yeah, this I was just trying to explain you, right? So technical skills. So try to subgroup all your skills into a certain main subgroup. So for example, if you like you've done programming, so mention like all your programming skills and then subgroup it into like programming and software. So because everyone uses computer these days, right? So for example, like if you're a mechanical engineer, you have learned like CATIA or ANSYS, SolidWorks, mention there like programming and software and then mention there. Then you have attended some finance bootcamp, entrepreneurship. So this actually adds a lot of credibility because these are the subgroups which will give the recruiter a major chunk of idea where you come from. So for example, if you come to Appli, we look for people with entrepreneurship mindset. So if you have worked in any startup or you have done any startup, we'd love to prefer you. So by just looking at a word called as entrepreneur, so if I find there, I'll just go through your skill sets. What are exactly your skill sets? Like when you talk about entrepreneur, like you should be very good in managing skills, or maybe like you should be very good in other management skills, or like kind of a go-to guy who can like do things properly. Cool, so that's what this will help you a lot. And then yeah, coming to the resume formats. So like past few years I've been through like a lot of resumes. I've recruited like people from IIMs and now like from all the colleges around. So I saw like a lot of students, they mentioned this three pager format, and then like one pager just consists their career objective, which the recruiter don't care about, because they also know, right, like in 2 years you will take a shift because you're a fresher, and they don't expect you to be there in the company like for long term, 5 years, 6 years. You don't expect it because they also know like some of the people they'll only remove some people like in 6 months. They're pretty sure about it, so it's fine if you don't mention it. And then yeah, like I saw like this page, this candidate has just mentioned his name, phone number, email, and then career objective, and then course, like all the sems, and then technical skills. And then on next page is mentioned like seminars, and which is rubbish. Like trust me, I would just reject this candidate from the first page itself because I'm not getting the right kind of data. So I feel like okay, this candidate is like he has not done much research about how to build a resume and all, so he'll get rejected like on the first page itself. So moving ahead, yeah, I saw like people, like some students are using this cool kind of resumes. They like feel really cool, like colorful and all, but at the end, trust me, like it won't pass your ATS trackers. So these days companies, they don't sit and watch your resumes, they have a software for it. We at Apli.Ai, like we also have a software where we recommend companies the best talents. So there this resumes won't work. Okay, It looks cool, but trust me, like it won't work there. So please keep on avoiding this kind of formats. I'll tell you the why it will come at last at your ATS trackers, because it is like this resumes, they're divided into two columns, and then when anyone reads, so the software is trained in such a way that you have to read from left to right. So for example, when I'm reading this resume, so I'll read core skills, my work history, digital marketing, CEO and co-founder. It will just jumble up everything, and then your resume will come at the last, and then this tables and all. So the software won't be able to pick up the right keywords. Okay, and then your resume will actually come at last, in spite. So yeah, like in spite of you, the best candidate, you lose the like your chance in the first impression itself. So please be away from the school resumes. We'll also like we are also trying to implement it on our platform for students who like it, but I don't suggest it. Personally, I don't suggest it. So yeah, moving ahead, I thought to show you like some IIM format resumes. So where you see like there is no columns, it's only text, purely text, and a lot of text. Okay, you won't see any kind of certifications they've mentioned here. So I know it's not clear much, but like just go through it. Like there is internship, there is POR, there is technical skills, there is extracurricular. There is nothing like certifications, because they also know like company don't like certifications. Company like projects which you do after learning the certification. So for example, this candidate has mentioned like case study on something or project on something. So she has mentioned in internships itself, because the heading is internships and key projects. So it's fine. Like it's completely fine. You can put in your internships and key projects. Cool. But don't mention your certificates, because it's actually useless. Going ahead, yeah, thank you. If you have any questions, I would love to answer it. I'll just check the app if there is any questions. Uh, yeah. So some questions are like how, like why Appli? So why you should use Appli platform for building resumes? So trust me, it's your personal choice. We don't force anyone. But the point is, like at Appli, we are trying to build a complete surrounding here. So where your college is also attached. So whenever you build a resume, you don't waste your time. So for example, if you go to 10 other platforms like Naukri and couple of platforms, they give you a digital format, which you can't use at other places. So when you build a resume at Appli, you can use it in any interviews, like because the data is perfect, you can pass, like it will rank best in the ATS trackers, because the people who have built this resume template are currently at leadership positions in Tata, and they have like hired a lot of candidates around. So this is like one of the best templates you can ever get. So that's what from us. So if you have any questions, you can again write to me at shivam shivam@apli.ai. I would love to answer it. If you need any help, if you need any one-to-one session, if you have any particular doubt, I would love to answer it. That's not a problem. Cool. So thank you. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye. Take care. And thanks for attending.